Hi, welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be an honest review of the Triumph Bonneville. Now, as an owner that I've owned the bike for a few years, I think it's about time that I had a bit of a chat about, as you've seen in many of my videos. Now, if you're here to sort of know what the torque power is in sausages and the curb weight in rump steakers, unfortunately that's not me. I don't do all that technical inside kind of blah-de-blah-de-blah stuff, because I generally think you already know all that if you're looking at the Triumph Bonneville. Now, all I want to talk about is what the bike's like, what it's like to ride, etc. So keep tuned and let's have the chat. So here we have the Triumph Bonneville. It's the SE black version. The difference between the black version and the standard version is obviously you get the black engine casing, where the other is more sort of chrome. The SE as well is the sort of cheaper sort of version of the Bonneville sort of range. So you've got the sort of alloyed sort of wheels instead of the chrome spokes. What's a shame, because the chrome spokes kind of finish off the bike, but it's dead easy to clean. Now, there's a couple of things really that I don't like about the Bonneville, so I'm going to crack on really quickly with them. And one is the exhaust. Now, whenever you have a Bonneville, you expect that kind of popping sound, and everybody says it as well whenever they see it, go, has it got that lovely sound? But if you listen, it doesn't have that. Here you go, you ready? Yeah, that's it, that's the sound. What's kind of not the best, it doesn't have that real kind of deep Bonneville kind of pop, you know. That again is a bit of a shame. The other side of it as well that I really don't like about this bike is that you may as well replace the rear suspension with a brick, because this is just terrible. When you feel a bump, it literally slaps you on the arse, goes through your spine and shakes your head to bits. So they really have put on some rubbish suspension. Now, both things are really easy to fix. You can put some aftermarket pipes on, you can put pea shooters on, and they will look absolutely fantastic and give you that sound. And suspension you can pick up from about 100 quid up will massively improve the actual sort of the comfort of the bike itself. But I mean, just look at the Bonneville. It is an absolutely beautiful bike. It is a model of motorcycles. It has that real sort of 50s classic look, and you kind of do sort of can't stop yourself really from just staring at the actual bike itself. I mean, it is absolutely lovely. Now, they've kind of kept some of the classic features, like on this motorcycle you don't see on 2010 plate bikes. There's a choke. You put the choke on when you fire it up, otherwise it splitters. A lot of these days it's electronic and you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, it's kept some really nice features. I mean, obviously you've got the Bonneville printed on there, so everybody knows that it's the actual bike that they're staring at. They've even put the key lock on the old-fashioned days on the sides here, so obviously that's quite a cool feature, I've got to say, because obviously it goes sort of that period, like that period of time where that's where they used to put the ignition barrels. It's quite cool. Yeah, the lights themselves, now don't get me wrong, I mean, they could have made it look a little bit more neater, but at the end of the day, they've tried to keep the bike in that sort of classic kind of theme. So it's quite impressive. On this model, being the SE, there's no Rev Counter. It is literally just all you've got is your speed and basic indications. Another big flaw about this motorcycle is that there is not a fuel gauge. So I fill up every 100 miles, but I'd say don't risk any more than 130 on a tank to be sure. So all I have to do is reset my my clock back to 0 every single time my little trip, just so I'm not basically going to struggle. Now, I've done a couple of aftermarket things on this bike. I've changed the seat to a brown seat because the black seat, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the look. I like the brown look, and I've changed the grips as well. The grips that come with it are quite hard. I like a sort of soft feel grip because it helps with the vibrations and helps with my sort of fingers. But yeah, to look at, that is an absolutely beautiful motorcycle. So let's jump on the bike and go for a ride. So the big question is, what's the Triumph Bonneville like to ride? And you kind of have this 90-degree angle for your legs, so you don't kind of get massively uncomfortable. It's no kind of long distance cruiser, there's no doubt about that. The reach to the bars, again, there's no stretch to this. You're not kind of massively uncomfortable. I mean, I can lean right back if I want to, and I can lean right forwards. There's plenty of room to move around on this bike. It does hold that sort of classic British kind of position. The bike itself isn't a very big bike. It's not massively high off the ground. I'm 5'8", and there is plenty of room. As soon as I pull over like I'm about to do here, I can easily kind of get both feet on the ground, sort of feet look right down, and you straight down, you sort of got your bottom of your feet on the floor, so you you don't feel like you're under pressure like you are on some bikes, like you've got to be on your tiptoes and you haven't got the support. You can easily let go and you can hold the bike with your legs. It doesn't feel heavy at all in any way. It feels really, really light. And because it feels light, you've kind of got that kind of able to throw the bike around a lot. I mean, there is literally no problems with throwing this bike around. It just absolutely handles fantastically. It's hugely impressive. When it comes down to acceleration, you've got all the poke that you need. Are you ready? I mean, there is plenty, absolutely plenty. The brakes, they're okay. They're no sport bike brakes. There's no shadow of a doubt that they're not like, whoa, it's stopping and it's throwing me forward. They're okay. They do the job that they need to do. It is just generally a fantastic bike to ride. The fun you have on this bike is absolutely unreal, and you feel proud. You feel so proud because the heritage of this bike. They started making these in the 50s and they're still making them to today. They are a real historic bike to ride, and it gives you that proud feeling. People still say to me, and it happened on a recent trip, he went, oh, that's a really nice bike, has it got that Bonneville kind of sound? No, it hasn't, but it looks like it has. And to be honest, like I've already mentioned, you can quite easily fix these things, the little sort of annoying things that are in my to-do list. But to buy this bike sheerly for fun, this is the bike to buy. It is just a cracking bit of kit. It's not going to win any race awards, it's not going to win probably the best reliability in the world, but in general it does what it says on the tin. It's a cracking British classic riding motorcycle, and you can't ask for more than that. If you're after that kind of just enjoyment thrill bike, then this definitely is the one for you. Now let's talk about a little bit about the distance riding. Now I've driven this bike all the way over France. I've driven this bike all over the place, and there is no wind protection. It's an open fairing machine. You are going to get blasted. You can buy sort of the lens that sticks on the front, but it just takes away that cool look, and I like the cool look of this bike. But long distance you're going to get blasted well and truly, so it is really a summer riding machine if you want to start doing some travelling. But there was a guy, and I'm not going to start naming books and things because of copyright, but there was a guy that took one of these back, I think it was either late 50s or early 60s, and he drove it around the world, and the ride of the life, and his machine made it. So it says a lot when it comes down to the history and the quality of these bikes. But what I will say is, on a long distance, you will get your usual arm ache. There is a little bit of vibrations coming through. The suspension gives you that old whack because it's got such rubbish suspension on the rear. But you feel the road, you're connected with the road at all times. So you can ride at big distances. You can ride any bike big distances, really, at the end of the day. I wouldn't use this as an everyday commuter. For me, this is a weekend, go out and have some fun kind of bike. Without a shadow of a doubt. All the controls on this machine are dead easy to use and dead simple, just standard bike stuff. Your indicators are left, your indicators are right, push it into cancel. You've got your little horn there, and you've got light, main beam and sort of standard beam. Now, the lights are on the entire time. There is no light switch on and off, and in my opinion that's a good thing, so I don't see why you would want to switch your lights off personally, because it makes you see. You've got your engine cut off there and your electric start. Obviously this is a 2010 machine, I believe, so it's not got a kickstart. It doesn't need a kickstart. I mean, it would look cool with a kickstart, but it doesn't need one. But everything works as it should. It's as simple gets. There's no fancy electronics that I quite like, really, but ABS, there isn't ABS on this bike. This bike is just sheer old school, so you need to ride it with care. There's no traction control, there's none of that stuff. It is just a machine, an engine strapped onto a frame, some brakes, and off you go. And that's the Bonneville. That's one of the beauties of it. I know the new ones have got all the bells and whistles, but hey, this is a good starting sort of entry level machine right here. So yeah, riding side, generally a cracking piece of kit and a hell of a lot of fun. So yeah, hope that answers that question. So what's the Bonneville like to live with? Now, in the few years that I've owned this motorcycle, it's a cheap bike to have. You can buy your own servicing kit, and I mean that does everything for about 80 quid on the old flea bay. And you can service it yourself, what a lot of us do. Average garage cost for a survey, your average is about 150 to 200 quid depending what you have done. And you know, the maintenance is pretty good. Now for me as a rider, what I tend to do is give my bike a proper service every 2 years, because I generally don't feel like I do the mileage in 1 year to justify the bike needing to have a service. If I'm on a big trip, of course I'll change the oil and give it a check over. I mean, that's what you need to do to look after your bike. But overall cost of this motorcycle is pretty cheap. I tend to put about £15 worth of fuel in it when I'm doing about 120 miles. So it's not too bad on the old juice either. So yeah, to live with this bike is quite easy and quite reasonably cheap to maintain. Parts, of course, it's a Bonneville, you get parts here, there and everywhere. And again, flea bay's the place. If you want something and you don't want to pay full Triumph price, you can normally get it second hand on eBay. It's not too bad at all. So to live with, this bike is extremely easy. The one thing is, I will say, is being the style of the bike, open fairing with that chrome looking exhaust and that engine bay as well, is that you have to clean this bike every time it rains. Because if you get a bit of rain on this bike, it just looks absolutely rubbish. So you have no choice but to clean it. So you've got to bear that in mind, that there is a bit of cleaning. But again, with the sort of alloy, steel, alloy, whatever they are, wheels, you know, it's not too bad. You're not having to sit there, not having to clean the old spokes every single time. So it's quite a quick clean and quite a quick wash. But bear that in mind, it is a bike that you have to give a clean. But hey, you're a motorcyclist, that's what we do. We ride, we clean, and we enjoy, and that's what bikes are all about. Now, the kind of big final question for me, whenever I own a motorcycle, is, one, would I buy it again? And what would I replace the bike with when I go to sell it? Now, for me, this is quite simple. This motorcycle, I wanted one of these for years, because I just think they look so awesome. And I wanted that chunk of feeling, that history as well. So, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, I'd buy this motorcycle again, because it has brought me so much fun. And it builds your confidence as well as a motorcycle, because it's so light and it's so nimble. So that's really important. I would buy this motorcycle again. Now, what would I replace this bike for? Now, it's always been one of those things that I've said, I want to try a Harley, I want to do that, I want to do this. But when it comes to replacing this bike, I'd like to replace it for a new Triumph Bonneville T100 from new. And the reason why I say that is that I don't know, the third or fourth owner of this motorcycle. I'm not going to struggle even be the second. But anyway, I like this bike that much. This is the kind of bike you buy, you keep, and you put in your garage, and even if you don't ride it, you still enjoy looking at it. It's that kind of motorcycle, I kid you not. So this is that kind of bike that you kind of like buy, and you kind of want to keep it forever. So that's it. If I bought one from you, that's my forever bike. That's the kind of bike I can put in the garage, and I can go, do you know what, I'm having a year off because I'm riding one of my other bikes, and I'll come back to it, and you'll miss it, and you'll want it back. Within 12 months, you'll go, I really, really want that bike back on the road, because it's just so much fun. So I'd replace it with another Bonneville. There's your answer. And again, I think that's massive. If you're looking at getting into Triumph Bonnevilles, that's kind of like a massive compliment. I mean, Triumph has basically stolen my brand in motorcycles. I was a Honda boy before this. I like Hondas. I've done a bit of racing with them, and I really thought they were cool. But Triumph really have stolen it with this bike with me, and that sort of got me to go and buy a Tiger and start doing sort of adventure riding. So Tiger, Bonneville, all in all, the Triumph brand have really sold it to me. So there you go. That's kind of the end of the review. It's short but sweet, but you don't need to say a lot about these bikes. I've not gone in, like I said before, going on about what torque the machine makes and how many flower pounds of whatever they say to try and make it sound all jazzy. To me, that's not important as a rider. Obviously, it's got some pull. You want to know that. You want to know it's a over 800cc motorcycle. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very, very much for watching this video. I do appreciate you all, and I do appreciate my subscribers so much. It's a real pleasure. If you could do us a favour as always, put us a like up, don't forget to do it, and subscribe, guys. It's free to subscribe. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, it costs you nothing to subscribe, but it boosts my confidence so much, and it really helps me out. But anyway, until our next proper motorcycle adventure, take care and see you next time. Bye bye.